Hey everybody, this is Mark with Beyond the Struggle podcast. I am here this evening with Bethany. Bethany is going to give us a testimonial interview. How are you doing this evening, Bethany?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm here burning up. It's hot out here. It's been hot. It's been hot, and I know in California, you're in California, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Out here, in Colorado. It's been hot for us. We're a mile high, so it's our 90s are not different than California 90s.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah. So what I wanted to do was touch base with you and get your testimony from you and go from there and so you could give us your testimony starting at maybe the earliest point of where it all started from you and then we'll go from there. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Take it away.
Um, so growing up, I was always kind of the black sheep of the family. I didn't get along very well with my sisters. They kind of teased me a lot. I have a distinct memory of being shoved into a cabinet by two of my sisters. My mom was especially very, very abusive to me. She drank a lot at the time and took a lot of her anger out on me. And I remember being very afraid of her. So I didn't really have anywhere to go to at the time. I felt like I didn't fit in anywhere. I didn't belong anywhere, especially with my family. When I was in elementary school, my parents put me on Ritalin, and I noticed that they liked me a lot more when I was on Ritalin, and I was a better student when I was on Ritalin, and teachers seemed to like me more when I was on Ritalin, and so I thought this was like a magical medication that made people like me more,
Mm,
and I really just wanted to have more of it. I didn't understand what it was about. I didn't understand what I was taking, but I just knew that when I took it, people liked me more. So I started really getting dependent on my medicine. And when I got into middle school, I started really getting bullied, really getting bullied. I remember getting thrown into a trash can by a bunch of girls because they thought it was funny. Men would pick on me for my hair, pick on me for my body type. Again, I was still the black sheep of the family. So I would go, I wouldn't fit in at school. I'd go home where I didn't fit in. I felt like I had nobody, but I still had this medicine that would make me a good student. And that's really all I had was this medicine. And by the time I turned 14, I was in eighth grade. One day, my mom comes back from a trip and says, I'm leaving. I'm leaving all of you guys. I'm going to see someone in Nevada. And she left. She just straight up left. I didn't hear from her for like 2 years. She just left. But that night, she hands me like a clear glass of something. And I was like, what's this? And she goes, it's vodka. It'll make you feel better. And I drank it. And oh boy, did I feel better. I felt great. Alcohol was a really big part of my family. I mean, I had my first glass of wine when I was like 6 years old. I started drinking at a very young age, but I got drunk for the first time when my mom gave me that glass of vodka. And I remember feeling great. All my troubles were gone. I felt amazing. And I got so sick because I drank so much for my little 14-year-old body. I think I maybe had like 4 shots of vodka, but like it was just so much for my little 14
mm,
year old body to handle. And I remember my mom saying, don't tell dad, don't tell dad, don't tell him you drank. So I got into that mindset of, okay, it'll be okay. I can drink as long as I don't tell my parents and everything will be okay. And so I really hung on to that idea of alcohol makes the pain go away. And I brought that into me throughout high school. My mom was absent throughout my entire time in high school. She just was gone. She was with her boyfriend in Nevada. Meanwhile, I was living in California and I was drinking very heavily. I was drinking so much to the point where I would black out by the time I was 15. Like I would be blacking out at 15 years old and still going to school and functioning because I had this medicine that would make me wake up really early in the morning.
mm,
So I'd perk up and be okay and I'd go to school, but my grades definitely suffered. I wasn't a good student and teachers just couldn't understand why because I was definitely like I'm not a dumb person. I wasn't like a slow person, but I just wasn't doing the work. So my teachers were like, I don't understand. Like you're very bright, but you're just not understanding the material at all ever. And they would see I would come to class very sick. And I think finally at one point, one of the teachers had an inkling that something was going on. She never said anything, but I think she knew. But that's when I really got dependent upon alcohol and definitely my Ritalin because my Ritalin made me feel a lot better after I would get hungover. When I was 18 years old, I met somebody who, he said he loved me, and I thought it was the best thing in the world. He was my first boyfriend ever. I clung on to him for dear life. I clung on to him as if I were drowning and he were the safety net, because I was so lonely. I had nobody. And he wasn't really that great of a guy, to be honest. He was a gaslighter. He put me down all the time. And it just made me want to drink more. It just made me want to use more. It made me want to just pretend like nothing existed because I had this company, but this company was trash. But we were together for 6 years. And during that 6 years, I really dove into my alcoholism. And then I went to college. I went to community college because I didn't do very well in high school. But that's when I discovered, hey, I'm a good student when I take this Ritalin. Like, I'm a really good student when I take this Ritalin. So I started becoming a straight A student. I was the best student. I was known in college as being like the best student. And people had no idea that I had this drinking issue. And people had no idea that I was also, I started smoking weed too around this time. My boyfriend introduced me to marijuana and told me it would make me feel better. It would help me with my nightmares, he said. It would help me just feel better overall. So he would help me. At the time, I had no idea how to even smoke weed. So he'd like
Right.
load up the pipe for me and like put it to my mouth. Because I had no idea how to smoke weed. I had no idea how a pipe even worked. So I started smoking weed more and I started drinking more. I would just get crossed all the time, but I still was a really good student because I would take my Ritalin all the time. During the day, I'd be hopped up on Ritalin, and then at night I would be just crossfaded from alcohol and weed, and that was just this vicious cycle of me just being consistently fucked up. And I had no idea what sober even felt like because I was never sober. I just didn't know
Right.
I had no clue what that felt like. I had a professor actually go up to me one day when I was 19 years old and say, I think you might have a problem with drinking. And he told me to go to AA, and I just never did. I went a couple times. I just never went back. I didn't think it was for me. I didn't think I was an alcoholic. Um, I thought, I don't actually have a problem. I just like to drink a little too much. It gets me in trouble sometimes. But then I entered 4-year university. I got into UCI. I got my degree in psychology with the minor in neuroscience, but the pressure to be a good student was really high because I got into a neuroscience lab there where I was working, and I felt like I was just a fraud. I felt like I'm only a good student because of this Ritalin, and everyone's going to find out someday. So the pressure to be the best was on. So I switched from Ritalin to cocaine. And I thought I'll be even better if I do cocaine because cocaine's stronger than Ritalin and it's going to make me double focused. Plus, I'm going to be a little more sociable. And I did so much cocaine that like pieces of flesh would like fall out of my nose. It was so bad. I was doing that much cocaine. I had to go to the doctor on multiple occasions, very embarrassed, go to the doctor and say, hey, I did a little bit too much cocaine. Like, I need antibiotics. And they would give me antibiotics. It was super embarrassing. But I had to go like I literally needed antibiotics for my nose because I would do so much cocaine. And then eventually it really caused a divide between me and my boyfriend at the time. And it was putting me in a point where I was getting into like a psychosis. I was doing so many drugs. I was mixing cocaine and weed and alcohol and all these uppers and downers. And it was putting me like into a mild psychosis. And finally he was like, I'm done. I'm out. I don't want anything to do with you. I don't really blame him, but he was still kind of an asshole, but I don't blame him for leaving.
Right.
But when he left, oh my God, it was like the worst pain I've ever felt in my entire life. I was beside myself. I cried so hard I threw up. I thought I was never gonna recover because this was my first boyfriend and we dated for 6 years, from 18 to 25, and I thought I was just never gonna love again, and I wanted to feel just absolutely nothing. So I remember texting my friend saying, "What drugs do you have? Because I just don't want to. I don't want to feel anything." So she came over with a bunch of painkillers, And I remember doing like morphine, Vicodin, and I mixed it with Xanax. And I was just so fucked up. And I just stayed like that for like days. I would just stay on the morphine and the Vicodin and the Xanax and mix it with all these other things and just stay perpetually just so fucked up I could barely speak. And I quit my job because I was so sad. I just stopped working. My parents financially supported me for a little bit. I don't think they knew what was going on. Otherwise, I don't think they would have financially supported me. I think all they knew was I was just very depressed and I needed some time off. But that's when I got into the whole world of downers, and that world was a fun world because I felt like a zombie, nothing mattered. And I remember writing in my diary one day, like Vicodin felt like someone was giving me a hug, which is something I hadn't felt in a while. Like just feeling like a warm hug from the
Yeah.
inside. That's what Vicodin felt like. And that's what I was craving so badly, was just that feeling of love and acceptance. And opiates gave me that feeling of love and acceptance. And I tried really hard to get clean for a little bit. It just didn't work. I would go maybe a couple days without using or drinking, and then the withdrawals would kick in so bad, and I would just be like, no, 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 like I can't do this. So I got off the downers for a little bit and I stayed back on the stimulants. I stayed on the cocaine and the Ritalin, and then I started buying Adderall off the street as well because I wanted to stay like just very hyper focused, very happy. I wanted to not feel any pain. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to be constantly go, 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 go. I got a job at a neuroscience lab, but another neuroscience lab at the UC San Diego School of Medicine. I was very lucky, but at that point, my addiction with Adderall and Ritalin and Coke really started to spiral. And I would run out some days of Adderall because my finances were starting to get kind of shaky. So there would be times at my work where I'd be in withdrawal, and sometimes in my work where I'd be on everything. So they saw in my performance, like some days I was just gone, some days I was wired, some days I was gone. I ended up losing my job. Um,
Yeah.
I remember my boss told me, I don't know what's going on with your life right now, but I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want this lab to be a part of it. Like, you can't work here anymore. It was really a big blow because that pretty much ruined my career in the neuroscience field. Like, I can't recover from that. It was a huge lab. It had ties to my old lab that I worked at. So my old lab, like, I lost those references. I lost that reference at this lab. So I can't ever go back to the field of neuroscience, unfortunately. But after that, I was just like, what is the point? Like, I lost everything. I've lost my boyfriend. I've lost my job. Like, there's no point in continuing. On top of that, at that point, I was entering another relationship that was, I don't talk about this much. I don't talk about this man very often, if I could even call him a man. He is a horrible human being, just absolutely depraved, and he was very abusive to me, just absolutely horrible. The last I heard about him was that he was recently arrested for trying to kidnap a child at an elementary school. He is just the most disgusting human being I've ever met, and he treated me so horribly, and he would do unspeakable things to me sexually. And that really pushed me to use because I just wanted to feel numb. Because he would get mad at me for like crying or fighting him when he would do these things to me sexually. He said it like killed his mood, and he would often hit me. So I just got really high I had a plug that would give me whatever I wanted, and I just told her I want to feel nothing, and she's like, I got you, girl. And she gave me these pills. I don't even know what was in these pills. I think they were she said they were some kind of Norco something,
Yeah.
but they just made me peace out. And so I was able to handle the sexual assault a little better. And I moved back from UC San Diego, from the San Diego area. I moved back to Orange County because I lost my job. I'm trying to start fresh. And I get in a car accident because I was driving under the influence. Luckily, I didn't get a DUI. I don't know how on earth I didn't get a DUI, but I didn't. But I was driving under the influence. I got in a car accident. I ended up totaling my car. And that night I tried to kill myself because I was just done. I was like, I can't get sober. I can't get a job. I don't have any money. Like, there's no point in living. I end up surviving it. I was on life support for about a week. But I end up surviving the attempt, and I try really hard to get sober. Like, I really do. I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna live through this, like I might as well really try to get my life together. My parents were helping me out. I got a job. Things were looking up. I wasn't using. I was part of an IOP program.
How old are you at this
Things
point?
were turning up, you know? Like I got a new boyfriend. He was great. He was not a bad guy. He was a pretty decent guy.
How old were you
And
at this time?
I was 27 at this time.
Okay.
So by the time I'm 27, I have, this new boyfriend, this guy, his name is Troy. I have some sobriety time. I made it to like I say I made it to a year sober, but I forget that I also started taking kratom during this time. So it's not entirely a year because towards the end of my year of sobriety, I I snap and I start taking kratom. So maybe I made it to like 6 months, 6 to 8 months sober. And then I start feeling just this horrible anxiety and this horrible anxiety, and the ADHD picks up. And so I read somewhere that like white kratom helps you focus. So I go to a smoke shop and I hear all these great things about kratom from the guy selling me them. And I didn't think it was a big deal. I didn't know it was addictive. I had no clue. But I get really hooked on kratom. Like really hooked on kratom. So much so that like I ended up getting horrible stomach issues from it. My liver got affected. I was in the hospital multiple times because I had such bad stomach issues from kratom. And then finally I went back. I broke down. I went back to drugs. One day, my boyfriend at the time, Troy, goes, "Why don't you just try smoking weed again? It's not that big of a deal. It's just weed." And my biggest regret was saying yes to that. I really shouldn't have done that. I say yes. I I try it, and it just reminded me of everything I used to do. So I just get perpetually high for like maybe 2 weeks. I get so high that I black out. I didn't realize that it was possible to black out from smoking weed, but you can black out from smoking weed if you smoke enough weed. Then Troy leaves me because he was so over it. He was so over me smoking all the time. He told me to stop and I didn't stop. And I really regret screwing up that relationship. I mean, I'm in another relationship now that I'm very happy in, but I definitely feel bad for messing that one up, that other relationship up, because he was a good guy. He wasn't a bad guy. He had my best interest at heart, and he tried his best. We didn't always get along, but he tried his best. And after he broke up with me, I really spiraled. I was so sad because I was so in love with this guy. So then I messaged my other friend, a friend that I had met in the program, and I said, "I need to do drugs. What drugs do you have?" And he goes, "I got you." And he comes over with like a little kit, and he brings me like every drug my little heart would have desired. And that night I start doing meth for the first time. And then I started doing ketamine, and um I think that night I just did meth and ketamine. And then he comes back the next day and I just did a bunch of meth, like a bunch of meth again. Now my ex-boyfriend says, "I want nothing to do with you." Because at first we were on speaking terms, we were on like talking terms. And now he's like, I don't want anything to do with you. Like you are beyond hope. We still don't talk to this day, even though I am sober. But he's just like, you're beyond helping. Like I want nothing to do with you. And that made me even more sad. So I did even more meth. And then one day I'm like tweaking out, right? And I asked my friend, I said, "What do you have that can calm me down?" And he's like, "I'm not going to tell you because I'm not going to give it to you." And I'm like, "Tell me, tell me, tell me. What is it? What is it, please?" And he's like, "It's fentanyl." And I'm like, "No, I really want it. I really want it. I really want it." Because I just really wanted to try it. And I tried it and it was the best high I've ever had. It was the best high. I've never felt so good before. And I was like, "This is the best thing ever." And I honestly felt like that was gonna kill me. Like I knew once I did it, I was like, "This shit's gonna kill me." Sorry for cursing. But I started doing it and I started doing it more often. One day I did it and I did a little too much and I overdosed. And I don't remember anything. I just remember hitting the little thing and Next thing I know, I'm in an ambulance, and the ambulance told me that I had turned blue, that I was 5 minutes away from dying, and they had to Narcan me 4 times. And they also had to they had to bag me, meaning they had to put a tube down my throat to help me breathe. So, and the first thing I thought of was, where's my cell phone? Like, I just didn't even care that I
Yeah.
had overdosed. I just wanted to go home and do more drugs. And I remember an officer, not an officer, but officers were there. One of the EMTs told me, he's like, you have to stop doing this, Bethany. And I'm like, first of all, how do you know who I am? And second of all, how do you know that I do this more often? He's like, I was here for your last overdose. And I was just like, God damn it. That's so embarrassing. But I didn't learn. I didn't learn from that overdose. I went back and I did more drugs. And I kind of figured I was going to die from drugs. I kind of figured it was going to kill me, but I just didn't care.
Yeah.
And I go back one day, I come back from the hospital and I tell my friend, let's do more drugs. And I'm just laying there and I'm just so high, I can't even move. I could barely move. I'm just laying down and I'm thinking, like, drugs are gonna kill me one day. Like, I'm gonna die from this. And then for some reason, something in me just thought, like, I really don't want to die from this. Like, I really don't. And so while I was still high, I was still so high on ketamine. I called a rehab and I asked if I could go in that same day. And they let me in that same day. And I did a residential treatment for 30 days. I did an IOP program for 3 months. And I am still in a sober living facility. But now I have 6 months sober and life is a lot better. I have a great boyfriend who I love very much. And he's very supportive of my sobriety. Um, I've been reconnecting with old friends that, had distanced themselves from me because of my using. And I'm back in school. I'm studying to become a case manager. So I'm getting something called a CDAC, which means a certified drug and alcohol counselor. So things are good, and I have a job now.
That's
So
awesome.
things went from horrible to unemployed, dying on the side of the road kind of thing to things are looking up. And
Yeah.
I don't know what the future has in store for me. I don't know if I'm going to be with my boyfriend forever. I don't know if I'm going to have my job forever, but I do know that as long as I stay sober, like everything's going to be okay.
Absolutely. And
So,
that's the truth behind it, you know. And we talked a little bit off of the off air, I should say, about that stuff. You know, it's really fresh, and these are the moments that you're gonna have to learn how to refine yourself. You know what I mean? Because after after all the years of everything that you put yourself through, mentally, physically, you know, that's a lot of healing, you know. And I don't know what, as far as like, your classes and stuff like that, you know what I mean, which I'm sure you've had to do and up to this point, but when you go through, just, always remember to work those core issues, all that stuff that you're talking about in here. Make sure you're working that. Don't bottle that stuff up. Don't sit here and, oh, I'll be fine. It don't even really bother me, because that's a setup. It's a setup for failure. It's at some point in time, Beth, it's gonna grab you, and it's not gonna let go, because mentally it's already embedded in there. So what you got to do is you got to work that stuff and know that you're a better person than you are then. You deserve better in your life. You had sent me some pictures, and I'm going to put them up on this video for you. And I was looking through some of those, and I just see the transition in your life. And I'm so happy to share that with everybody on here, because it really gives a perspective of your life, and you really deserve to be happy. And in order to do that, you got to work all that stuff in the middle of this testimony that you're talking about, that jacked up boyfriend that you had. You got to work that stuff. I don't know if you go to groups or
yeah.
meetings or whatever, but even if you're one-on-ones, if you have one-on-ones, sometimes, but you'll learn as you're transitioning into getting your license. You're going to know these things that I'm talking about, like your core issues. Those aren't the issues like, oh, my mom gave me vodka. That's an issue, but that's not a core issue. Those core issues of where you're hurt, what things were left out, who hurt you, how you didn't work it. And that's called working that program. Once you start doing that, all this next 6 months is just going to go. Next thing you know, next time we're talking, it's going to be a year, and it's going to be 2 years, and it's going to be 5 years, and it's going to be like, damn, I got my license, Mark. And you know what I mean? And these are
Yeah.
things you're going to be so happy to succeed, because if you don't work that stuff, as you go through your sobriety, none of the stuff you're going to reward yourself with right now is going to matter. I promise. You got it. You got it. It's just going to be a situation that I think we talked about before, putting stuff on the back burner. You're going to be like, oh, I'll deal with that later. But guess what? When the stuff that's in front of you, you don't want to deal with it. Guess what you're going to do? You're going to go to that back burner. I always, it's funny because I always tell everybody, it's like when you make dinner for yourself, and you're like, okay, well, what are we going to have with this? I'm going to make pork chops or something, and you're like, I'm going to make macaroni. And it's like, well, just in case this pork chops don't good, I know I don't mess up the macaroni, I'll go to the macaroni. But now what I've done by doing that is I've allowed myself to be judgmental of what's in front of me and not have to make myself deal with what's in front of me, meaning the pork chops. You know what I mean? So guess what?
Mhm.
If I find anything I don't like about it, I'm like, and then I go straight to the back, and I'm gonna eat the macaroni. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I use this scenario because that's how it is. If we're not working these issues, when we get to them and we don't want to work them and we don't want to deal with them, it's easy for us to jump back in there. It's kind of the situation of you smoking weed when you knew better. You know what I mean? That was a back burner situation. You got to want this for yourself and know you deserve it, and want to continue to push forward, and I see it in you, and I know you got it, and I wish you the best, and congratulations on pushing forward and making that change. That's the first step, and that's the hardest step, I think.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So what I want to do with you, if you don't mind, I'm gonna put this video. Together. I'm gonna put your pictures in there because we are in the beginning of your sobriety as well. I want to touch base with you again on another mark, maybe like a year or something like that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Or when you get your license, or you make any kind of discovery that you want to share with us that has been a blessing in your life and a move. Just reach out to me and be like, "Hey, Mark, I want to share this." And maybe next time, instead of doing a video on here, we throw you on a panel, 2 or 3 people on us, and we just talk about your success. I just did that with a gentleman not too long ago we had on here. And he's been doing good ever since. It's every move he wants to make, he wants to share it with us, and we're here to put you out there, and let it be known to the world that we do recover, and you deserve to let the world know that you're doing good.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Absolutely. All right, Bethany. Well, I'm gonna close this out. If you like, I will let you know. Obviously, when I put this together, like I said before, it'll probably be about a week or two before we get it out, and then we'll go from there. And if you have
Okay.
any questions or anything like that, just feel free to reach out. All right.
Okay,
Don't
sounds good.
don't go nowhere yet. I'm gonna close this out for you.
Okay.